While Big Lou and Pat were contemplating the declaration of Arbroath, Domenica MacDonald was standing with her fiancé, Angus Lordy, and her lawyer, Leslie Kerr, outside the door of Antonia Colley's Scotland Street flat, key in hand. "I must confess I feel somewhat furtive," said Domenica. "I know that I'm fully entitled to go inside. Indeed, Antonia asked me to go in as often as I could to see that all was well. But somehow—" "You need not reproach yourself," said Leslie. "We are merely going in to measure up for the sale, that's all, and what we see inside will, of course, be kept confidential." "Of course," said Domenica. "Of course," added Angus hurriedly. He doubted that there would be anything of any great interest in Antonia's flat anyway. Piles of books about Scottish saints and those unfortunate Russell Flint prints she insisted on displaying. It was extraordinary what people hung on their walls, he thought. Perfectly reasonable people who should know better put dreadful things up. Pictures of matadors by late French expressionists, for example, that induced nausea and in some cases even more severe symptoms. Pictures by prolific Russian artists of well-padded female nudes that were enough to discourage even the most heteronormatively compliant of men. There were so many crimes against art, Angus thought, and not all of them committed by the judges of the Turner Prize. "Of course, it's really a question of what you like, Angus," Big Lou had once said to him. "Some people like one thing and others don't. That's what it boils down to." "Oh, no, it does not," Angus retorted. "There is good art, Lou, and there is bad art, and there are aesthetic and even moral criteria for distinguishing between the two." This fragment of conversation, the beginnings of a heated debate that had gone nowhere, came into his mind as Domenica began to unlock Antonia's door, and went right out of his mind as they stepped into the hall. Closing the door behind them, Domenica suggested that Leslie might wish to start there and work out into the surrounding rooms. The lawyer looked about her. "It's a very charming hall," she said. "Some flats have very poky entrances, but this one has all this light." She pointed to the skylight, through which could be seen a slice of Edinburgh sky, high, blue, with only traces of wispy cirrus. She moved to examine one of the walls more closely. "It could perhaps do with a coat of paint, but I think we should leave it. The new owners may have their own ideas as to colour schemes, and I always recommend that it should be left up to them, if possible. Of course, if things are really shabby, then there's a case for freshening a property up before it goes on the market, but most buyers can see beyond the immediate state of things." "Exactly," said Angus. "And what about baking bread?" Domenica looked at him curiously. "Baking bread?" Leslie Kerr laughed. "Oh, yes, people often ask about that. They've read somewhere that the smell of baking bread in the background makes prospective buyers feel more positive about a house or flat." "And flowers?" asked Domenica. "They might help," said Leslie, "but you're never going to impress a surveyor. A surveyor will probably be suspicious if he smells too much baking bread." She extracted her electronic tape measure and took a few readings. "Very nice," she said, writing in her moleskin notebook. They went into the sitting room. There was a slight fustiness in the air, the result, Domenica explained, of the flat being closed up for so long. "I open the windows whenever I come in," she said. "I air the place as much as I can, but air goes off, doesn't it? It gets stale." While Leslie busied herself with measurements, Angus sidled up to look at a framed print of a Highland gillie standing with his dogs. Behind him, a cloud-wreathed mountain, a distant loch. His gaze moved on. There was that...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.